South African Airways business rescue practitioners say they've no further funds for rescue efforts and that the airline cannot survive beyond the end of the month. The practitioners say they don't have enough money available to continuing honoring the obligations of SAA to its employees beyond the 30th of April. According to them, two options remain: a wind-down process or placing the company into liquidation. The wind-down process is dependent on employees accepting the termination of their employment by mutual consent within a given time frame. Government met with some of the unions representing employees at SAA on Tuesday. It was made clear at the meeting that the airline can no longer depend on financial support from government after it turned down another 10 billion rand bailout for SAA. Let's now get reaction from Numsa by spokesperson Phakamile Hlubi-Majola. Well, thank you very much for coming through, Phakamile. I mean, the last time we heard about this story was that SAA could be dead, and you are saying it's still alive.
Good evening, and good evening to your viewers, and thank you so much for having us on your platform. We continue to have hope, and yes, I know many people say that the airline is dead, but we disagree. We believe very strongly that South African Airways has a very important role to play even during these times of the coronavirus pandemic. In fact, what the virus has done across the world is to disrupt global supply chain systems, and we believe that there is definitely a future of South African Airways in relation to that, and our government has a responsibility. If you consider the very serious socioeconomic conditions that we're facing in our country today, to do absolutely everything it can to save every single job that it can. We've seen other countries taking measures in order to protect airlines, and we'd like to see our government doing the same. And this is why, as Numsa and SACA, we have reached out to the Department of Public Enterprises. We've reached out even to the Office of the President, where we've had engagements with them directly about the future of South African Airways, and we are hopeful and we remain hopeful that these engagements will bear fruit.
But bring us into light in as far as the rescue plan is concerned. I mean, from the way you've been coming through is that you've been in the periphery in as far as the business rescue practitioners have been concerned. They're not bringing you into the loop in terms of how they are going to rescue the airline.
Well, this has been our problem from the beginning with the business rescue practitioners, is the fact that they've not been forthcoming about their intentions. It's very clear to us that there is some kind of plan that they're utilizing. If you think of what they've been doing from the time that they've been appointed, they have been executing a plan of sorts. That plan has been based on mass retrenchments of workers, and we believe that their ultimate goal from the beginning has been the liquidation of the airline, which is why things have turned out the way that they have. There are many decisions that the BRPs could have and should have taken if they were genuine about turning around SAA, but they frankly didn't take those steps. First and foremost was the fact that they never delivered on a business rescue plan, which is their mandate as business rescue practitioners and is one of the key deliverables of any self-respecting BRP, is to devise a business rescue plan. This pair of business rescue practitioners failed to do that. Secondly, they took disastrous decisions, such as the cancellation of numerous routes, some of which were actually very popular routes, and that speeded up the destruction of this airline. But more importantly are other decisions that they deliberately did not take, such as their failure to renegotiate or cancel or insource onerous contracts, evergreen contracts, which everybody knows were choking the airline and were contributing to the 25 billion rand per annum procurement spend. A lot of that procurement spend was corrupt. They took no steps in order to intervene on that. So it's very tragic that we find ourselves here today where workers are facing liquidation, where they're being promised nothing but empty promises from the BRPs in terms of retrenchment packages. And as Numsa and SACA, we are doing the best that we can in order to salvage this very, very sad situation.
Well, they requested 10 billion rand from government and they didn't get it. Could there still be any CPR to SAA anyway? And what's your proposition in order to keep the airline afloat?
We're not going to go into details now about what our proposition is because we've been negotiating directly with DPE on the details of that. But what we've been very clear on is that we do see a future for this airline. Even post-coronavirus, we've identified potential for South African Airways to continue, probably in a different form, but for it to continue and to continue to play a strategic role in our economy. I think it should never be taken lightly that South African Airways is being destroyed. We're talking about 34,000 jobs along the value chain. That is not something that we can just allow to happen without vociferous intervention. And this is why Numsa and SACA have taken the decision that we intend to make an application at the High Court, probably within the next coming days. And in our application, first and foremost, we say BRPs who we believe are looting the airline for their own purposes. And secondly, in that application, we will be demanding and hoping that the court grants us this full financials in terms of how the monies that they have received thus far have been spent. But that's just in the short term. In the mid to long term, we are hoping we can convince government as the shareholder to continue to play the role in supporting South African Airways. This is a strategic state-owned entity. It cannot and should not be privatized. It has a major role to play in our economy, and it would be negligent and irresponsible for this government to actually actively destroy this airline when they have the power, even now, to do something and to save all these jobs.
All right, Phakamile, thank you very much for making time to speak to us. She is the spokesperson of Numsa, getting just to know an idea of what they're going to do when they take the South African Airways to court, saying that the business rescue practitioners have not kept them in the loop regarding the kind of rescue plan they have for the